Hello everyone, very good morning and good evening. Parminder this side. Okay, now before we get it started, just to let you know, today is a planning session that how we would be doing the planning. In PP, there are the two P's are there, right? First P is there as a planning P. Second P is there as a production. This is a production and planning, right? Planning we need to do into the both side. We need to do the production planning. In production planning, we want to know whatever thing we want to produce, what we are going to produce, when we are going to produce, what would be the quantity which we'll be producing it. That things we want to know, right? We want to plan and we want to know it. And this is very much linked with the sales. How much of the sales we are supposed to do, how much of the forecast we are supposed to do. Okay, based on that, we would be able to identify how much of the production we need to do it. And if you are able to identify how much production you need to do it, then you need to also try to identify how much of the procurement you need to do it. Okay, how much of the procurement you need to do it. Production, procurement. So there is a production planning, there is also procurement planning. Now in procurement, what you are going to buy, you want to buy, but which material you are going to buy, when you are going to buy, what quantity you are supposed to buy. That is the thing need to be linked, and your quantities and when should be linked with your production plan, because based on the production plan you have set it up, based on that you need to require a material. If you're supposed to start some production in January, right, you need to make sure by January or by December and your raw material should be there. If you need raw material in December, maybe you would be, based on the lead time, you need to order that materials in September itself, right? So maybe the sales which we are expecting in the month of February or March, which we have forecasted in the month of February or March, supply chain operations, which is the first leg of the supply chain operation is the buying, need to start somewhere around in September and October. They need to start buying the material so that we will be able to sell it. We'll be able to produce it, we'll be able to sell it, right? So that's where basically the production planning comes and the procurement planning also comes. Planning itself is quite some topic, quite some area which require a dedication, which require in-depth knowledge, right? So that's why we have a module called sourcing and procurement. Sourcing and procurement, the planning is not there. Production planning, the planning is there. But when the planning is there, it is there for both procurement and production. So what happens in the projects? In the projects, when we have this PP consultants are there, they would be responsible for both procurement planning also and production planning also. It does not mean that the manufacturing is responsible. It does not mean manufacturing is responsible. But PP consultant might be responsible because he is the planner. He is the planning consultant. So under him, the procurement will also be there, production would also be there. But here there would be a linkage with MM. There can be a linkage with MM consultant because you are talking about the procurement, how you would be doing the procurement planning. So MM consultant would also be linked. So that's why MM consultant sometime would also require some basic knowledge of the MRP side of it, so that they would be able to know the basic function and features of MRP and they would be able to use it. In some kind of cases, what will happen, your company will say, boss, we are going to buy and we are going to sell. In buy and sell scenario, they said we need a basic function of MRP. Now in this, they don't have a PP consultant. So the basic function of MRP, they would be expecting MM consultant need to know, and MM consultant should be able to operate with it, right? MM consultant should be able to operate with it. So that would be the things, that would be the functions which can come up, where basically we would be requiring a MM consultant also knowing the PP stuffs, knowing the planning stuff. But in a larger scale, if this scenario also, if company wants to do the in-depth planning, they want to use it, right? They want to go into the deep of the planning. They want to do the forecasting, sales operations planning, forecasting, sales operation planning, then material requirement planning, all the function features they want to use it. In this scenario, also buy and sell, although there is no production, still we go with the PP consultant because PP consultant has more deeper knowledge into the planning side of it because that is the core. Planning is there as a core. There 40% to 50% is the planning, right? So just make a note that you should know what is your area and what is not your area. So in a project, there are the MRP views. Okay, it can be there for the raw material, but generally if the PP consultant are there, they would be taking care of those planning views. They would be having a discussion with MM, but they will take care of. But in few scenarios where the basic functionality is being used, MM consultant can also be asked to use the MM consultant can also be asked to go ahead and set it up the MRP related things. So MM consultant should also know about the basics of MRP. Okay. Now, the word in the terminology which I've used is planning. Planning is quite a big terminology. Planning is quite a big terminology. It's not a small terminology. It's quite a big terminology, right? Under planning, there are so many things. MRP is just one tool. Material requirement planning, just one tool. If you want to go ahead with the advanced planning, we have APO, advanced planning and optimizer. Within APO, you have PPDS, you have demand planning, you have SNP, supply network planning is there. Then you have IBP, integrated business planning. Then within the planning, you have a sales and operations planning. You have a demand-driven MRP, DDMRP, you have a long-term planning, right? And then now you have a predictive MRP planning. So it's a big topic. The planning is a big topic itself. The some part of it we will be covering in the PP. Even PP mastery does not cover everything which I am speaking, right? Some part of it would be covered in PP mastery. Some part of like predictive MRP, your DDMRP, more depth of MRP live is part of the advanced PP. And then we are going to start the third level of planning is IBP, integrated business planning. That is a different module. For that, we have a separate training. And then we have a PPDS, production planning and detailed scheduling. That is a separate module that will require a separate 25 to 30 hours of training, which we have in pipeline and will be starting in a month or 1.5 months. We'll start that. So planning itself is very wide and deep. Even one single consultant would not be able to cover the planning full. Okay. What I want you to understand that this is a big ocean of the planning. Out of the big ocean of the planning, we are talking about one tool of MRP. Out of those one tool of MRP, we'll make sure that in today's session and the next session, you know the basics of it, which MM consultant needs it. And then we'll go much deeper into the planning strategies and other things with the PP consultants. Okay. Okay. Now, these sessions we were not including earlier for the MM session, but then we got a demand from the students, so we are covering it. But it would be covered till some extent. It is not like that you will become MM consultant will become a champion in MRP. You want to become a champion in MRP, you need to learn either by yourself or by going through PP Mastery or PP Advanced. You would be able to know more about the planning, right? But the basic things you will learn from these two sessions, which you will do the integration session between PP and MM. So that is the basic understanding which I have tried to give it to you. That is planning, right? Now the tool which we are going to use. We are going to use the talk about the tool is MRP, Material Requirement Planning. Can you let me know? And we have a larger audience today, so try to use as maximum of the chat function. Can you let me know that what is MRP? What do you understand from MRP? Quickly over the chat. And if you don't know anything about MRP, it's fine. You can type NI, no idea. But what do you understand by MRP? What it is, what it would be doing? Okay, it's material requirement planning that even I have said a little bit more than that. Tool to make sure right materials are available with the right quantity. Very good, Vinay. That is even the definition I prefer to give. Automatic PR creation based on shortage. That's also good, Juraj. Right material available in right quantity at right time. Very good planning. MRP is a search engine. MRP is a search engine which ensure we have a right quantity. Not the search engine, Sachin, the better terminology would be, it's a planning engine. It's not a search engine, it's a planning engine. Okay. Process by which the requirement generated plant orders and purchase orders. Very good. Okay. Now, what I call MRP is a planning engine. MRP is a planning engine. We call it engine because from front end, it will look like some parameters, but at the back end, there's a big algorithm for the MRP, material requirement planning. There's a big algorithms are there, and that big algorithms are also not big when we compare to the heuristics, which we do it in IBP or APO. That is a more complex algorithms, but the algorithms are there which run at the background. And because the algorithms, multiple algorithms are running for multiple times, that's why we call it as an engine. It's a planning engine which makes sure that right material is available at right time in right quantity, right material available at right time in right quantity at right place. Now, how this engine would be ensuring that? How this engine will ensure that bhaiya, this right material is available at right time in right quantity at right place, right? To do that, let's try to understand from this figure. MRP is the engine which would be working, and it will intake, let me try to use different colors, all of your demand. What are the demand objects? In SAP, what are the demand objects? Quickly, over the chat. Which objects we consider as the demand objects? PIR is your PIR, consultant, don't get confused with the purchase info record. PIR we also call in PP. That is your planned independent requirement, which is nothing but your forecast. Planned independent requirement, which is nothing but your forecast. Planned independent requirement would be there. Your sales orders would be there. Forecast would be there. That is also, sales order is also demand. Production order is a demand element or a supply element? Production order is a demand element or a supply element? Quickly. Demand, supply, demand, supply. Nilesh said it's supply, supply, supply. So production order is both, Sachin is very good, is both. It's demand also and supply also. Because what will happen in production order? Production order will tell you, boss, I want to produce a soap. Okay, 50 quantity. So this is my finished good, let's say, for which I have a production order. So this for soap, it will act as a supply, because the result of the production order you will get is increase in the quantity, 50 quantity increase in your stock, right? So this will act as a supply element. Soap will act as a supply element. But within soap, to produce soap, I need soap noodles, I need oil. Okay, that is maintained in the bill of material. That is the child component which will get consumed to produce the soap, right? For soap noodle, for oil, it's a demand element. So production order will increase the quantity of the soap and will decrease the quantity of soap noodle and oil. So for soap noodle as a material, for oil as a material, production order is a demand element. But for soap, production order is a supply element. right? Because at what part the child component will reduce and the finished good or the header component will increase. So if we talk about the header component, it's a supply element. If we talk about the child components, for child component, production order generates the demand, gives the demand. So similar thing is there for production order. Similar thing is there for STO also, stock transfer order. For stock transfer order for one plant where you are receiving it, it is a supply element. One plant where you are dispatching it, it's a demand element, right? So for a given materials, it would be checking all these demand elements, that what is the demand of a material? What are the forecasts? What are the sales orders? What are the production orders? What are the STOs? System would be checking, right? And then on another hand, it would be checking the supply elements also. What are the supply elements? Quickly over the chat. I said STO would be supply element also. Production order is a supply element also. Purchase requisition is a supply element. Purchase order is a supply element. Anything which will increase the stock is supply element. Anything which will reduce the stock is a demand element, right? So it will compare that in our system on a time horizon, what are the demand elements, what are the supply elements. Then the third thing it would be checking, would be your stock. So it will check for a given material, what is the stock available, what is supply, and what is demand. These three things it will compare, and it will try to identify shortage. Okay, so shortage, it will try to identify it. It will say demand minus stock plus supply. If my stock plus supply, okay, is less and my demand is more, this figure will come positive. Positive means we have a shortage. I have more demand, less stock and supply. It means I have a shortage. System calculate this on a time frame. Okay, and this is a engine which we will be running it again and again. Generally, this engine we run it once in a day. But some companies will be having a less frequency. We'll be running it once in a week. Some companies will be having more frequency. We can run it once in a day, and ad hoc basis we can run, or some companies can also run once in a shift. But 90% of the cases which I have seen, it runs once in a day. Okay, once in a day it would be running. It would be, because why it need to run again and again? Because these all things are dynamics. Your stocks are changing, keep on changing. Your demands are also keep on changing. You are having a new sales order. Sales orders are getting cancelled. New sales orders are booked. Quantities are changing, right? Similar way, your supplies are also getting changed. Purchase orders are getting received. Purchase order get cancelled. It got delayed, right? So many things are happening. So your supply is fluctuating. Your stock is fluctuating. And your demand is also fluctuating, because all three parameters are fluctuating parameters. That's why we need to run this engine on a regular basis. Once in a day, generally we prefer. At the night we run this. And then system calculate the shortage. Once system calculate the shortage, then system will try to identify what I need to do with this shortage. Then after the shortage, system will try to generate a proposal. System will try to generate here the proposal. When system is trying to generate a proposal, it will try to identify ki bhaiya, whether I am going to buy this or I am going to produce this. What kind of material it is. If I am running it for soap, I am going to produce it. So system need to give me a planned order. But if it is this for oil, which I need to buy it, then system need to give me a purchase requisition for the shortage quantity. So either if it is produced item, system will give planned order to me? If it is a procure item, system will give purchase requisition to me, right? System will give purchase requisition to me. That is the end of the planning. Once your planned order is generated, purchase requisition is generated, then the further process will start. This planned order will get converted into the production order, and then your production order execution will start. This purchase requisition will get converted into the purchase order, and the further processing with the purchase order will start. So indirectly, what we are looking for some proposals for the shortage. Now, these kind of engines are required because we are not talking about one material. We are not talking about two materials. We are talking about thousands of materials. And for all these thousands of materials, they all are fluctuating. Stocks are fluctuating, supplies are fluctuating, demand is fluctuating, and they are also linked with each other. Raw materials are linked with semi-finished goods, semi-finished goods are linked with finished goods are linked with sales orders are linked with forecast. Everything is linked with each other. That is the best point of SAP. It provides a very good linkage between the departments, between the business functions. So this planning as a business function would link the full supply chain, right? So if it is this MRP, if material need to be procured and I don't have enough purchase order, enough stock, enough purchase requisition, system will create a new purchase requisitions, which I can take and then convert into the purchase order. Similar way for the production side, if I don't have enough, system will create a planned orders, which I will take it to generate production orders. This is what it is, the basic of MRP. Okay, this is what system would be doing. Generating the proposals, creating the purchase requisition, and creating a planned order. We'll jump into more detail, but till this point, do you have any questions? If you have a question, feel free to ask. You can unmute and ask it, or you can put it on the chat. If you don't have any question, I want you to put NQ quickly, NQ in the chat window. How planned orders and sales orders complement? What is the question? Atan, can you ask your question a little bit in more detail?
Yeah. Hi, Parminder. So I just from MM though, I'm but curious to know, let's say it's a big business I'm just considering, and we have made a planned order. Now, from the forecast, of course, and then actual sales orders arrive. So how we manage these two? Are we combine them, discount them, negate each other before the MRP run, or what?
Yeah, so that we will be covering it. Next session, I would start with the PP. You are from MM.
Oh, okay.
Having those details, but that is called planning strategy. So we have a different planning strategy to take care of that, how the planning is linking with the sales. How the planning figures will link with the sales. That is covered by the planning strategies. We have a planning strategy 10, 20, 25, 40, 60, 70, and in each planning strategy, it is scattered in a different way. The linkage between the sales orders and the planned orders and the planned independent requirements is captured in a different way. There is a different logic for it. And based on the business requirement, that how it need to be catered, how it need to be the planned orders or the planned independent requirements compared to the sales orders. It depends based on the business to business, and we discuss with business in detail. Based on that, we defined which planning strategy we need to use it.
No, but we don't have any rule of thumb. Just one or two things to keep in mind, I'm saying, just as an MM consultant.
MM consultant, sales order does not come into picture, right?
Right.
So sales order does not come into the picture, but the rule of thumb, if you'll ask, we try to use strategy 40.
All right.
Strategy 40 is the rule of thumb. We try to use it where we don't have a specific business requirement. Strategy 40 will automatically take care of that. Once the sales order is generated, the sales order would automatically first consumed by the planning. Whatever the planning you have done, system will take care of that first.
Okay, thanks.
I have a few more questions. Zareen has a question. Does MRP creates purchase requisition only, or it also creates PO directly without purchase requisition? MRP will only create a purchase requisition, or from the planning production side, it will create the planned order. It will not directly create the purchase order. It will not directly create the purchase order. Somebody need to convert the purchase requisition into the purchase order, although there are some programs are there which you can run, but that is not part of the planning. That is, you can run the program that can convert the purchase requisition into the purchase order. But that would be always a second step. Make a note, this purchase requisition and the planned order, they both are the internal documents. They both are the internal documents. Purchase requisition is not a legal document. We don't share it with vendor, right? So somebody need to check the purchase requisition, convert into the purchase order. Purchase order need to get approved, then it will go to the vendor, right? So purchase requisition is an unformed document. We call it as an unformed document, and it's a planning element. Purchase order, somebody need to create it. I have another question from Sharon. For semi-finished material, MRP proposal is production order, and MRP proposal is production order. And how? Semi-finished material we produce, semi-finished material we procured and produce both. So this proposal generation will depend on your master data, right? So let me also jump into the system and we'll see some things in the system also. So how system will decide whether it need to create a planned order or whether it need to create a purchase requisition. So let's go to MM03, material master. And I think last time we did it for SGC1, material only. It was SFG 001. SGC1. This was a semi-finished good material we were having, right? And we have this MRP views. Now, under the MRP views, under the MRP2, we have this procurement type, right? So this procurement type, we have it in-house, external. If it is in-house, E means system will create a planned order. If it is external, system will be generating a purchase requisition. If you maintain it X, system can do the both. So based on this indicator, system will identify then whether it need to create a purchase requisition or whether it need to create a planned order. If you mentioned both here, what system would be doing it? Anyone? If you mention both, that can be the question in the interviews also, that if the procurement type is X, what system would be doing? And this is one of my favorite questions which I ask in the interviews. First internal, next external. Murli is saying that first it will create a planned order, and for next it will create a purchase order. Planned order will be generated. Planned order. Very good, Nilesh. Very good, Suhas. That is correct. If you create X, planned order will generate, but the right answer would be if you create X, then there is something called quota arrangement. Then quota arrangement would be checked. Okay. Then quota arrangement would be checked. Quota arrangement, you would be having a session, I think, I'm not sure in tomorrow's session if it would be get it covered, or maybe in the next session in the Kunal, which is covering master data is still pending. So quota arrangement would be covered. In quota arrangement, you can define if you are buying a material from two different vendors for which how the quotas need to be managed between the vendors, that can be decided. Or it can also decide, you can say that, define the quota that 40% I want from production, 60% I want it from procurement. That is a separate master data which we need to maintain. Okay. So 40% is production, 60% is procurement. Then based on that, system will be calculating. There is a horizon need to be maintained. So I don't want to go into detail because that is a topic of tomorrow morning in the session. And based on that, system will decide whether purchase requisition would come or planned order will come. Based on that, on the different MRP runs, it can create purchase requisition. In a different MRP run, it can create a planned order also. Okay, but if the quota arrangement is not maintained, you have not maintained the quota arrangement. In that case, by default, system will create a planned order. This planned order we will be expecting when you go into MD04 transaction generally, which is used. You can also convert this planned order into purchase requisition later on, or you can convert this planned order into the production order manually. You can manually decide which one you need to go. But if this quota arrangement is not maintained, system will always give a preference to internal. If nothing is maintained, system will go for internal. Internal is more preferred to me. If I can produce, let's produce it rather than giving it to the third party, rather than giving it to the external procurement. That is how the special procurement type X will act. If you have maintained the both procurement types, this is how planning engine will go through and create a purchase requisition or a planned orders. Let me check if there is any other question. Okay, I have answered. Tasir has a question, sir. Kindly give any business example for special procurement. Not the special procurement, Tasir. Right now we are discussing the procurement type. Maybe you mentioned by mistake the procurement type X, right? So there can be tons of example for it, for special, for procurement type. There can be tons of example for this X, where basically you require both. So in one of the case, we were having a production of it was called the operation called that we were having a housing. On the housing, we do the housing is a component which is used, is a pump housing, right? It's a material and component, and we need a glazing on it. Then it become a glazed housing. Then it become a glazed housing. Now this glazed housing, we can also directly procure it, or we have an option, we can produce a glazed housing. We can produce a glazed housing. We can procure the housings, and then we can glaze it in-house, and then we can do the glaze housing. So the both option is there. It's a semi-finished product. It is glaze housing is a semi-finished product which I can produce also, and I can procure also. So what happened in my production line, sometime there was a quality issues, and from quality issues for multiple times it need to go down. That was one of the issue. Second issue was a capacity constraint. My glazing line was not able to give me the enough glazing housings, right? Glazed housings, it was not able to give me. So I was calling it, I need to procure it from outside. So I was having a capacity issue. In that case, we go ahead with X, where basically in X, there can be the two conditions. We have not gone with the quota arrangement. We go on simply with X, and system create a planned orders, and they manually check that how many planned orders we have, how much we can do it. If you are not able to do enough, rest of the planned orders, they will be manually converting into the purchase requisitions. they will be manually converting into the purchase requisitions. That was the option which was taken. Okay. So again, I'm saying this MRP parameters we are discussing, but majorly it would be responsibility of the PP consultants wherever the PP would be there, right? But you should have a basic knowledge. Now, X in general, you would never be putting it for you will never put it for in MM. MMX will not come because it's related to the production. The PP team, they need to decide and put whether we are putting it E, F, or X. So mostly X will be used for the semi-finished. X would be used for any materials which can be procured also and which can be produced also. You can also have a finished good which you can procure and sell. You can buy and sell, or you can produce and sell. That kind of scenario can also happen. So for finished good also X can be used. Raw material I have not seen anywhere else because raw material generally we don't produce. Raw material we always buy. Okay, so let me go back. Okay. So we have, so far we have discussed the basics of MRP, right? That we have tried to understand what is MRP, what is material requirement planning. That's what we have tried to understand it, right? And the MRP, we would be running it with the batch job. We generally don't run it manually. We create a batch job for MRP, and that would be used to run at the night. It would be used to run. There are two transactions for MRP. Now, this part which we are going to cover, I will cover in very detail. It has been covered into the advanced PP, PP excellence. If you have access to PP excellence, this topic has been covered very advanced in there. So we have a transaction codes MD01, MD02, MD03. That is to run MRP. These are called classic MRP, right? Then you have MD01N, which is used to run MRP live, which is used to run MRP live. Which is used to run MRP live. So MD01, 02, 03 and MD01N, they both are available in S4HANA. In short, classic MRP and MRP live both are covered, both are available in S4HANA. More detailed difference between classic MRP and MRP live is a topic of PP excellence, which has been covered in PP excellence, right? But in ECC, you have only classic MRP. MRP live is not there. For now, just to understand what is the difference between MRP live is MRP live is a new algorithm which is more fast, more dynamic selections are there, and it run on HANA database. Okay, it run on HANA database. All the new implementations which we are doing for S4HANA, we don't talk about classic MRP, we don't talk about MRP live. We simply use MD01N, MRP live. Okay, in our trainings also, in the mastery also, we'll be running MRP live, MD01N. All the new implementation for S4HANA we are doing, it is all MRP live. We are doing it because it is more faster, more adaptive, using a new algorithms. All the new developments are now happening in the MRP live on this algorithm. We use them, right? So MD01N transaction will be using it for running the MRP. MD01N transaction will be using to running the MRP. Apart from that, there is a transaction which is very important, is MD04. MD04 is your stock requirement list. Okay, where basically you would be able to check if this is my material A, what is happening with this from the planning side? What stock it has, what planned orders it has, what production orders it has, what sales order it has, what STOs it has, the full planning information, what are the different elements are there. For a material, you would be able to check with the transaction code MD04. Okay, with transaction MD04, you would be able to check it. So we would be using these transaction codes and we'll try to check how the things happens with these transaction codes. Okay, how the planning happens with these transaction code. Now to show you the very basics of it, what happened is there is another set of transaction which can be used, and this will be more relevant for PP team use it, MD61, where you upload forecast. You upload the forecast from MD61. Okay. For what we will be uploading the forecast? We'll be uploading the forecast for our finished good. For finished goods, we'll be uploading the forecast, right? We would expect when we upload the forecast for the finished good, upload the forecast means that in January, February, March, April month, what is kind of sales we are expecting? January we are expecting 100, 200, 450, 300. We would be uploading the forecast with MD61. And then after that, we'll run MRP. Material Requirement Planning will run. And then system will check, system will do the finished good is linked with semi-finished good, raw materials, and then this can be linked with multiple raw materials. RM1, RM2, it can link. This can link with the multiple raw materials. So system will identify that if this is my requirement, 100 in the January, and if I am having shortage, or I'm talking about our product soap, right? And I'm having a shortage of 40, then system will create a planned order of 40. But system does not stop here. System would be checking with the bill of material, which is maintained by the PP team. Okay, bill of material, which is maintained by the PP team. System will check, boss, if you want to produce 40, this semi-finished good, under it, you require 400 kg. Then how about this semi-finished good? Do we have a 400 kg available? Do we have a proposal available for 400 kg? We said no. There is a shortfall. We have only quantity 50. Then system will create a planned order for this semi-finished good 350 kg. Then system will explore it further. Let's say this is RM3. Then system will check, okay, what is the status for RM1, RM2, RM3? Do I have, based on this 400 kg, I want to produce RM1, I require it 4000. RM2, I require it 1000. Do we have that quantities in stock? Do we have those quantities in stock? Check it, right? And then system would be checking it, and then system will identify if there is a shortfall is there. System will create for RM1, system will create a purchase requisition, let's say 2500. RM2, 1000 is required. Everything I have, system will not do anything. RM3, again, there is a shortfall of 500. System will create a purchase requisition of 500. This is how system will go in detail. The full BOM would be explored. This requirement 100, which you are putting it here, and I have just shown 2-3 raw materials. There can be cases where hundreds of raw material would be there, right? And this RM2 is not only required from this soap material, right? The RM2 might be requiring going into the 500 different soaps. And all these 500 different soaps has some planning in January. So system do some accumulation. System try to calculate the accumulation, that the requirements which is coming from the different finished goods when it goes to the raw material level, and at the raw material level, requirements coming from all different areas, combining them, how much of the procurement I need to do it. Okay, so this results, which we'll see for showing the simple example, I have shown you for a single product, right? So let's say you have a multiple products, you have a Lux, you have a Dove, right? Then you are having a 100 gram, 500 gram, you have a different smell, different fragrance of the products are there. So that way there can be some 500 different varieties of soaps we are producing. But all these 500 different variety of soap, they all are using soap noodles as a raw material, right? They all are using soap noodles as a raw material. Then system will combine. When it will be running from all those materials, it will be exploding the bomb, and then it would be going down, checking it, requirement coming from all the places, how much I need to buy, how much I have, and then system will generate a proposal. That's why, that detail bomb would explode. A lot of calculation would be done, although it looks very simple. Yeah, demand minus demand minus stock plus supplies. Very simple algorithm. What is big in this, right? We are into the era of data analytics, but the volume would be very huge and the linkage would be very huge. One raw material is linking with 10,000 different finished goods, right? And it need to check a requirement from all these 10,000 finished goods, and these 10,000 finished goods are linking with the 50,000 raw materials. So everything need to be calculated in a loop, explode, loop, and then the results come. That's why this MRP run, we say that ki bhaiya, run it in a background batch job run. Background batch job. Run it in background batch job, right? And the background batch job run, when you're running the MRP, you need to also run, once in a day, and sometimes we prefer to run in the night, or any duration where the system load is less. It will depend on the data which is used for the MRP run, but it can take any time from 10 minutes to, I have seen personally 4 to 5 hours also with the big set of data. That much of time these algorithms can take to run and give you the results. Okay, so that is the detail of MRP. That is why the MRP runs are run in a night background batch job runs. Because so many materials, for one material itself, it need to consider stock, it need to consider purchase requisition, planned orders, STRs, STOs, and then this material is linked with how many higher level materials. So with the huge amount of data, the things become complex. So this way of planning is a kind of MRP type. This way of planning is called MRP, material requirement planning, right? But it is called, we have a different MRP types. And this way of planning is called MRP type PD. MRP type PD, which we set it at the master data. So there would be multiple different MRP types would be there. Everything we will not be discussing here in this first 2 sessions. First 2 sessions will be only focusing on the PD, and other MRP type which is very used by the sourcing and procurement guys is VB, reorder based or consumption based planning. Okay, reorder based or consumption based planning. But you will see the PD is always linked with the forecast. It will be having always linked with the demand planning and S&OP. And demand planning and S&OP is a complete PP area, right? So if you want to go ahead with this PD type of planning, Only for raw material PD, we don't do it. Only for raw material, we prefer to do VB, but raw materials are linked always with the higher materials. So that's how the PP comes into the picture. And that's how the PD is the very used one, where basically we have a bomb structure, structured bombs are there. PD is very much used. Wherever we have a forecast, PD is very much used. Okay, where do we maintain this parameter? So we discussed one of the parameter, that is the procurement, and now these MRP types, where do we maintain? And this MRP types, even in the PP mastery session also would not be covered everything, because MRP type itself is a very deep topic. We have a new MRP types like D1, demand driven MRP. Demand driven MRP is covered in PP excellence. Okay, but if I go in MRP1, I have this MRP. PD. PD is forecast consumption. Forecast consumption. It would be consuming from the forecast. The forecast need to be maintained. That is the MRP type PD. That is the MRP type PD. Okay. Then here other MRP type VB will come into the picture. Srinivas is asking why classic MRP is available even though all functionality covered by MRP Live in S4 HANA. Classic MRP is still available because the MD01N MRP Live is a front end, right? And then it is not that easy, that when we do the things from the front end, it looks very simple. But when you go deeper and deeper, you will try to understand the complexity. It was not that easy for SAP to make sure that to bring all the code, MRP has a big code, to bring all the code to the HANA database. So the code which has been written for MRP, classic MRP is ABAP code. And then code which has been written for MRP Live is ABAP on HANA, you can say it, which has been written on HANA database. So all the code need to be rewritten. It's more SQL language has been used in other terms, if I will call it. So it is not that easy to bring all of the code from the classic MRP to MRP Live. So they have taken in chapters, in step by step. There is still some things which we say that ABAP code is enough for it, right? So the classic MRP code is still there. The two reasons. First is when we are running MRP Live automatically understand for this planning scenario where the algorithm sits. Do we have algorithms in HANA database? Then it send it to HANA database and the code run from there. But if it then that this algorithms we don't have in HANA database as of now. Everything they have not put it on HANA database. Then MRP Live understand, okay, this I don't have in HANA database, this need to be run into the ABAP, into the classic MRP. So MRP Live become the front end of it, and the back end, it is distributing that which scenario need to be run on MRP Live and which scenarios need to be run on classic MRP. That is the first reason. We have a very detailed discussion on this in our PP Excellence course. Second thing is that when people are coming from ECC to S4 HANA, right? In ECC on classic MRP, they have done a lot of enhancements and they want to reuse this enhancement when they are coming into S4 HANA. That is another reason in classic MRP should be there. So any client who is coming from conversion is another topic which we cover in the excellence sessions. From ECC to S4 HANA, if you're coming with the conversion, with that conversion, all of your enhancements which you have done in the classic MRP, you want to bring it to the S4 HANA also, right? And you want to use it there. That's why for those clients, it is important classic MRP should be there in S4 HANA. Atanu is asking, do we maintain MRP type for the child components in the BOM? No, MRP type is maintained in the material master. For the FG, SFG, raw material, for everything, you will be creating a material master. And in the material master, you will be maintaining the MRP type here. Murali is asking, are both material requirement planning and CBP? CBP is consumption-based planning. I was talking about the another MRP type VB. VB is a reorder-based planning. VB is a reorder-based planning, right? So VB is a reorder-based planning. The another name for the reorder-based planning, which Murali is asking, is CBP, consumption-based planning. So both consumption-based planning and MRP is part of the MRP itself. It is differentiating by the different MRP types. So when we use MRP type PD, separate algorithm. When we use MRP type VB, that is reorder-based planning, or consumption-based planning, that uses separate algorithm. Suhas is asking, is there any requirement that no user should be in the system or material inquiry for possible logs when MRP batch jobs is run, even if it is scheduled after hours to complete? No, that kind of requirement is not there, Suhas, that the users need to be locked out. That is not required. You would be able to run even the users are using it also. That is one of the places MRP Live come into picture, because we need to improve the performance. We need to improve the capability of MRP. That's where the MRP Live came into the picture, but the user logs are not required. Even the users are working, still you would be able to run the MRP. Okay. Okay, so today the first thing we'll try to understand is consumption-based planning, because that is very important for the MM consultants, right? So when we come to MRP type, we have PD. Okay, so this all will not be discussing here. We would be having this discussions of M star, P stars with the PP guys, right? The most important ones are these ones: PD, VB, ND. But yeah, ND means no planning. ND means no planning at all, right? Then we have a VB. VB means reorder based planning. Let's discuss this one. I like this one a lot, VB1. D1 is actually the advancement of VB only. Or you can say PD plus VB combines to give you D1, which has been covered in very detail in PP Excellence. We are also planning to create a separate course itself for the DDMRP, demand-driven MRP, trying for a lot of time. We have a limited resources, but already it is part of the PP Excellence. Okay, so the VB is the reorder-based planning. Now, how the reorder-based planning works? The first example I have shown you is the forecast base. You need to have a forecast entered. And based on the forecast entered only, you would be able to do the planning. That is a PD. But you can say, ki bhaiya, you are talking about the oil, right? Or now that soap example we have used a lot. Let me try to give you another example. Let me try to give you another example of cement. So in my construction industry project, where we produce concrete elements, right? The cement is the one which is used in 1,000+ products. Same situation is there with steel also, used in 1,000+ products. Now the question comes, why I am depending on the forecast? Why I need to depend on the 1,000+ products? Forecast would be there, forecast need to run, and based on that, I need to know how much of the cement I need to procure. Cement is my lifeline. It is something like your bread and butter and the milk, which you buy on daily basis, right? Anyway, you need to buy it. It will get consumed. So cement, anyway, I need to buy on the daily basis 2 to 5 trucks of cements I am consuming. on the daily basis, 2 to 5 trucks of cement I am consuming it, right? If we have a little bit of excess cement, it will get consumed into another product, right? So I am not worried about knowing exactly from my forecast how much cement I require. I store the cement in silos. Okay, the silos are created like big silos would be there. That where the big silos would be there, where basically the cement has been stored, and I have multiple silos, and from there it is automatically feed into the concrete plant where the concrete is manufactured. So I say that rather than buying a cement based on the forecast, identifying that how much of the concrete elements I'm going to produce, forecasting it, and then knowing it, how much of the cement I need to buy, why that much of calculation is required? I just need to store my cement in the silos. I need to make sure that my silo is always filled with cement, right? My silo is always full with my cement. If this is what I can put in one silo, that is my maximum stock. If my stock reached to that level, it means I need to reorder my cement. And by the time it reached this level, it means my new truck should come, which will increase my silo stock. Right? So I need not to depend on the forecast. This is the easy material. I can easily plan it based on my stock levels. In business, we'll be using different terminology, right? In SAP, we call it reorder-based planning. Business can call it as a stock level planning. Business can call it as a consumption-based planning. Okay, so different terminology can be used, but it is same as a reorder-based planning. So in this case, I will prefer, this is a material, even though it's my core raw material, and even though it is linked with my bill of material, I will prefer to plan it. Directly with my forecast-based planning, with my consumption-based planning. It's called the consumption-based planning, right? This is the example of the raw material which is linked with the BOM. Then we have materials. Now this is example of a direct material. Then we have materials which are indirect material. Now the indirect materials, they are not linked with the BOM. They are not linked with the BOM, right? Indirect materials are, which is not part of my product. That's it. To run these, my business operations, I need so many things, right? I need safety stock. Safety shoes, safety helmets, safety jackets. I need my spare parts, ball bearings I need for the machines. I need machine filters. So these materials are not linked with my BOM, bill of material. How do I plan for it? There is no sales forecast coming it, and you cannot directly link with them. That if I am producing 50,000 concrete elements, or if I am producing 100 walls, or I am producing 100 columns, how many safety shoes I require? How many machine filters I require? There is no direct linkage, right? There is no direct linkage. So these items, the ball bearing, machine filters are very crucial items, right? So this one we want to put it in stock. This machine filters are used. We have multiple different machines, similar kind of machine which use the machine filters. And whenever we have a preventive maintenance, we need to replace the filter. Or whenever the machine goes down, at that time also we might require to use these filters. And then we direct demand is not coming for it, right? So that these kind of things we say that, okay, we will always be having 6 filters in stock. Okay, we are putting 6 filters in stock. If my count is reduced by the 3 filters, I will order 2 more, or I will order 3 more. As soon as my count reduce from the 3 filters, I will order 3 more. So that is a reorder based planning. Can anyone tell me, this is a direct material, what is the percentage count of material? What is the, let's say if I have a total 100 materials in my plant, how many materials would be direct material and how many materials would be indirect material? Okay, if I have total 100 materials are in my plant, out of 100, how many materials will go into the direct material category and how many materials will go into the indirect material category? Quickly, everyone, I need an answer from everyone. 20 direct and the rest indirect, 80 indirect, 30 indirect, 70 direct, 10% direct, 90% indirect. That is very right. Only these direct materials are only 10 to 20%. Their volume would be high, their reputations would be high. The budget would be high for the budget might be high for the direct materials because I'm buying it on the daily basis. I'm buying into the huge volumes. But the count of material would be less. Only 10 to 20 materials would be the direct material, and then 80 to 90 materials would be indirect, because indirect material, the variety is huge. You need to buy laptops, cables, blah, blah things, so many things you need to buy, earbuds, safety shoes, safety jackets, tools, jigs, fixtures, machines, machine components, ACs, desktops, tables, chairs, so many things you need to buy. These all goes into the indirect buying category. Indirect buying, we would be having a specific chapter on the indirect buying in the procurement side, but these all goes into the indirect buying. Within the indirect buying also, there might be the 2 categories. One is the stock material, second is the non-stock material. Stock material are the material we will be maintaining the inventory for it, right? Let's say ball bearings, machine filters, might be safety shoes, safety jackets. We are maintaining inventory for it. We know that how many we have it, right? So any items which we maintain inventory for it, which we maintain stock for it, there is a possibility of planning. If you say that I'm not maintaining the inventory of it, as soon as it comes, it gets consumed. As soon as it comes, it gets consumed. What is the example of that? Let's say A4 paper, these pens, right? Markers, very small items are there. There's no need to maintain those inventory. पागल हो जाएंगे हम इतनी चीजों की inventory maintain करके, right? So there would be a lot of materials will not be maintaining the inventory. If you're not maintaining the inventory, you cannot do the planning. Then it goes with the manual. You're checking manually and you're ordering it manually. But if you are maintaining the inventories, there is a scope of doing the planning. And there is a big scope of doing the planning. There is a big scope of doing the planning if we are going ahead, with our reorder based planning, right? All those materials, they are not directly linking with the sales. So we can plan them with the reorder based planning if possible. A lot of things you will say ND. A lot of spare parts are there. They are expensive spare parts. Okay, you can say I'm planning it as an ND. No planning. Whenever I am requiring it, shop floor will come to me. They will create a purchase requisition. They will create an indent and then we'll buy. A lot of materials will go ND category also. No planning. We are not planning for them. Whenever it is required, we'll buy it that way, right? So that would be the different categories would be there, and that would be for indirect stock material. Consumption-based planning or reorder-based planning can be used, by which you would be able to procure the material. Now, how this reorder-based planning works? Let's check that. So, for these materials, it is important to maintain the data. It will depend a lot on the data. Different color for it. So you need to define your stock level. This is your maximum stock level. Then this is your reorder point. and this is your safety stock. This is your safety stock. Now, these things you need to calculate it and put it there. Let's say you put it that my safety maximum stock is 1000. Reorder point is 500. And safety stock, the minimum should be there, always available is 100. The point here is, let's say if this is your stock right now, which is near 100, near 1000, and it will start falling. As soon as it falls below the reorder point, as soon as it falls below the reorder point, at this point, system should create a purchase requisition. It should create a purchase requisition to try to fill it to the maximum stock level. Okay, here the purchase requisition will be created, which will convert into PO. And from PO, you will be having a good receipt would be done. So expectation would be from here till the time I reach here, safety stock, my new stock should appear. And that new stock will bring back the stock to the new level, let's say here. Again, when it reduced here, again a purchase requisition has been created. And by the time I am reaching here, again stock has been created. Again it came stock. So that way the graph would be created. Whenever we are going below reorder point, system will try to create a purchase requisition. System will try to create a purchase requisition. Okay. Not only the purchase requisition, by that way, you can also do the production planning also. This can be also used for the production planning also. It can also create a planned orders also. Same way it can happen that you have some materials which you are putting in stock. Okay, and from there you are selling it. If you have seen earlier way, I think now the McDonald's have changed the strategy a little bit, but earlier way, when you go to the McDonald's counter, you see that they have some small rails are there where they are feeding the burgers. Okay, whenever a burger count goes to let's say 2 count, it automatically trigger the people who are producing that burger, that chicken burger, they need to produce it. Then the veg burger is getting consumed, then they need to produce the veg burger, right? So that way you can also do the production, also you can do it. Okay, if the production is you're selling it from the stock, right? And it is the main material you are having, and then you are keep on selling it, right? So, or if it is a semi-finished good material, which you say that you need to produce, you should always having a certain level of stock for your semi-finished good. You can also use this strategy, VB based. It is not necessary that only for the indirect material it can be used. It can be used any place where it can easily fit. The only risk here, let's say if you have a material which is not very common in nature, let's say you use this strategy to produce your specific variant of car. Okay, specific variant of car, you have used this strategy to produce it. Then you have produced these cars, and if it is not getting consumed, you ended up by having a overstock of them. Their stock will not get consumed, right? So this is basically use strategy for anything, direct material, indirect material, semi-finished good, finished good, where basically you can maintain this master data, and based on this master data, you would be able to plan. So the material should be very commonly consumed. So even though you have a little bit of excess stock, you know, I am not able to sell it today, I will sell it in next 3 days, but it will be sold out. I know it, right? So I'm not worried about having a little extra stock for it. For those materials, you can do planning based on these stock levels. Now the question comes, how the calculation will happen? How the calculation will happen? How you will identify your reorder point? Can anyone tell me? Feel free. Yeah. So this is the stock level. This is the time. Feel free to put it onto the chat, how you will be calculating your reorder point. Reorder point is 500. How it is calculated? Consumption, lead time, very good. Based on the consumption, based on the lead time. So what we would be doing it, and you need to tell, I have seen this is the gap when the consulting happens. Consultants say to the business that, okay, give the reorder points, give this time. Sometimes the business would be using it for first time and even they don't know how it need to be calculated. Sometimes the business are the very good planners are there, they already know how to calculate, but sometimes you need to guide them. So to calculate the reorder point, the first thing you should know, what is your consumption rate? Second thing you should know, what is your lead time? Lead time is when you start your purchase requisition, from purchase requisition to get the material received, how many days you require? Let's say you said, boss, 20 days would be required. 20 days would be required. And if you say your consumption rate is 10 days, is 10 per day. Average consumption is 10 per day, you calculate it. On an average, 10 you consume it, right? But in sometimes it will be little less, sometimes it would be little more. So you put it some contingency to it, right? So you say that the lead time also can be a little bit up and down. So you need to take it out some average lead times. So you multiply 20 multiplied by 10 is 200 is the quantity which is coming. Okay, 200 which is quantity which is coming. And you say that I would be putting a 20% of contingency to it. Contingency means sometimes the up and downs can happen. These calculations are very dynamic in nature, right? So you want to put some 20% contingency to it. That is coming 40. So you want to put your reorder point as 240. That if it go not 240, sorry, not 240. Then you need to also calculate the safety stock. That when it reached this level, then you should have your material available. Then you calculate your safety stock. So you say that always I should be having a material for 5 days. 5 days means 5 multiplied by 10. Always 50 quantity should be there with you. 5 days stock always should be there with you that you are planning. Then your safety stock will become 50. Reorder point will become 200 plus 20% contingency would coming it as a 240. 240 plus 50, your reorder point will come as a 290, right? Then you can also maintain the maximum stock level. If you know, in some cases, you will not know the maximum stock level. That is fine. Okay, but if you can maintain the maximum stock level, that also you can maintain it. That this is my maximum stock level. Maximum stock level will depend on how much of the space utilizations are there. Okay, or you can say that at given point of time, I should not be storing this material more than 50 days. More than 50 days stock should not be there. So 50 multiply by 10, 500. So your maximum stock level will come to 500 levels. Maximum stock level can be come to 500 levels. Now, when you are less, let's say you are at 280. If you are at 280, how system will calculate? If you are at 280, you have run MRP, what would be the purchase requisition which will generate? If you are at 280, what would be the purchase requisition which will get generate? 10 Okay. System will calculate. Now that will depend on the another factor is your lot size. What is the lot size? So very common lot size, we use it here. I will tell you in the data, we maintain the lot size. Very common lot size which we use is HB. HB is maximum stock level. If you're using lot size as HB, you are at 280. System will try that from 280, take it to 500 level. So system will calculate 500 minus 280. That would be your 220. 220 would be your purchase requisition. 220 would be purchase requisition. But if you're using a lot size as FX, FSX fixed lot size, I need to buy always fixed quantity for it. And my fixed quantity you need to maintain in the master data is 200. Then your purchase requisition which system will generate would be 200. System will generate a purchase requisition of 200. So that will depend on the lot size. So what are the master data you need to maintain to run this? You need to mention your MRP type as VB. You need to maintain your reorder point. You need to maintain your safety stock. You need to maintain your maximum stock level. You need to maintain your maximum stock level is only if you are using a lot size, which use the maximum stock level. And you need to maintain the lot size. If you are maintaining these figures, you would be able to create. If you are maintaining these figures, you would be able to create your reorder-based planning or consumption-based planning. Any question on this before I jump into the system and then we see maintaining this data into the system and running MRP with it? Any question? Quickly, NQ in the chat window. If you don't have a question, put NQ in the chat window. If a barrel, Tashir has a question, if a barrel is 180 liter, that is it depend on lot size? Tashir, if you can unmute and a little bit elaborate your question. When you say barrel is 180 liter, what does it mean?
Sir, just if quantities are in barrels, that is one barrel is equal to 180 liters, then reorder level is for calculating 2 barrels, that is 360, and the maximum is 180 into 5 barrels. Then how system calculate the barrels for the lot size?
Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. So your barrel is 180 liter, right? And you buy in the barrels. You would be always buying 180 liter multiply of 180 liter. You cannot buy 120 liter. That's what you mean to say, right? Tashir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that we put it as there's another figure is there that we maintain in the master data that is called the rounding parameter. So in the rounding parameter, we'll maintain 180. So even though system has calculated from this calculation, let's say system has calculated to 220, okay, system has calculated to 220, system will change 180 multiplied by 2 to round it off. So system would be calculating, system would be buying it 360 to order the 2 barrels, although the calculation is total. So 180 you need to mention as a rounding value. It always the rounding of 180 need to be procured.
That is maintained in master data.
That is maintained in master data. I will show you where it need to be maintained.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Atanu is saying lot depend on consumption per day, as this could be totally wrong. That is right, Atanu. So that is the problem. You have asked a very good question. That is also a problem or challenge with this. It depends a lot onto the master data, right? Your consumption rate, which is 10 per day, okay, it depends a lot on this one. And this consumption rates can also change it. Okay, this consumption rates can also vary it. So one thing is that you need to revise this data every 3 months or 6 months. People need to go check this data. That's where they went wrong. When we do the implementation, we explain it, they maintain the data. But when we visit them after 3 years, 5 years, the same data is maintained, but the business dynamics has been changed. Okay, consumption rate has been changed. A lot of things have been changed, but there's still same parameters. So you need to keep visiting these things and changing the parameters. But that is where basically the new thing is also available. That is the demand-driven MRP, DDMRP, where basically it can also help to automatically change the consumption rate. It will be checking how much of the consumption is happening. And based on the consumption change, it will automatically change your stock levels also. So that is a big topic, which is DDMRP, demand-driven MRP, which is MRP 3, third level MRP generation it is called. Created by Demand Driven Institute. So with that, the consumption rates can also be automatically calculated. And if your consumption rates are changing, your stock levels can be changed. That we have covered in the PP Excellence Demand Driven MRP. Dakshina has a question. Does the system also have something for waste management or unused stock? Unused stock means, let's say you order 220, now your stock went to 400 and the consumption is not happening, right? Is that you mean to say, Dakshina? Dakshina, if you can unmute and let me know, is that you mean to say that you have ordered and the stock levels now at 400 and the consumption is not happening? Okay, not getting any response, so I will proceed ahead. Okay, now we will see how these things will be maintained in the system. Let me jump into the system. Dakshina, first, can you try to unmute yourself? Are you able to unmute yourself, Dakshina? Yeah, try to unmute first.
Hello, so I was just asking that if some stock is left that is unused, or can we differentiate between perishable or other kinds of stock in the system? And is there any configuration for like maintaining the stocks of those unused products or unused stock?
Okay, so that's what I was asking. So you ordered the material and now your stock level is 400. And this 400, the consumption is not happening.
Yeah.
Right? So what you will do with this 400 stock?
Yeah, right. In general business, like we would return it back to the vendor.
Okay, if that kind of agreement you have to return to the back to the vendor, and if vendor accept it, you can send it back to the vendor. You can create a return PO and send it back to the vendor. What else you can do with unused stock?
something like way for a waste management.
Okay, Charan said stock transfer to the different plant. दूसरे plant में देख लो if they need it, right?
That is for a that is for a bigger business, isn't it? Like it is for some stock like concrete, steel that we could transfer to other plants. If we have a business of like consumable goods like eatables, the burger example you gave us.
Then you need to scrap it. So unused burgers are scrapped.
So does the system have any configuration where we could maintain the data of those scrap and all? That's
No,
what
it does not. It does not automatically scrap. It is not configuration. It is a process. So doing a scrap is also a process in business. So you need to identify. You would be, and this activity you would be doing it every 3 months, 6 months, or every year in a business. What are your material, which is non-moving materials? We are not able to sell it. You are not able to consume it. What do you want to do it? Do you want to scrap it? If it is not usable, why to contain the inventory for it? You need to scrap it. So there is a process for scrapping. There is a transaction in SAP that is called goods issue to scrap. So you move it to the block stock, you take a decision, you take approval because that is straight away lost to you, lost to your business, scrapping it. So it requires a lot of approvals, which happens outside the system. You need to take it. And then finance team does the transaction, goods issue to scrap. They will remove the inventory from the system and it would be scrapped.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Scrap account will be booked. Yeah. Nilesh said that you can also put separate storage location to keep unrestricted or expired stock, or put it as a block stock, put it as a separate storage location unless you don't have any decision done. Once decision done, you can scrap it, or there can be different industry. You need to discuss with business that what actually the process is. Sometimes the process is that they can uninstall that component, they can decommission if the decommissions are required, or they can transform that material into another material. Okay, for that a special kind of production orders, rework production orders, you need to create it to utilize that unused material. Okay, let's go back. Now, let me check if I have any material or will create a material. For VB, I want to create a material with SGCO. Okay, let's create a material. It's not a big deal. So I'm creating a material SGC1 underscore VB01. VB is MRP type, we are using it, right? And I will create as a raw material, ROH. Raw material. So we'll be purchasing this material. So I'm using the purchasing data and I'm using MRP 1 or 2 data. And then I need to also use the storage location, in which storage location I would be using, and then accounting data. SGC1 is my plant. INWH inbound warehouses is my storage location. I'm putting the same description here. Base unit of measure is kg. Okay, purchasing group also I will maintain. Let's say 001 purchasing group I have maintained. Material group I will maintain L002 raw materials. And then let's focus on the MRP data. MRP type I am putting VB, reorder based planning. Here I need to put the reorder point. Reorder point, let's say I have put it as a 500 as a reorder point I have given, right? And my maximum stock level is 1000 I am giving. Lot size procedure I am giving HB. HB is a reorder point. So here there are a lot of another things are also there which you can check it, right? So we have here the minimum lot size. Okay, we also have a fixed lot size. Fixed lot size would be used if you will be using it here as a FX, fixed order quantity. System will go ahead with a fixed lot size. Then you need to give the fixed quantity. We have gone with HB, which is a maximum stock level. If you give HB, then you need to give this maximum stock level. So what system will do? System will try to check if our stock is less than 500. System will try to create a purchase requisition to make sure that it reached to the maximum stock level of 1000. That system will try. We have a minimum lot size. Minimum lot size is you cannot order less than that. You cannot order less than that. So let's say you say that whenever I'm ordering it, I cannot order less than 200. That is, you can put it as a 200 as a minimum lot size. So even though if system calculate less than 200, the minimum order, minimum purchase requisition or minimum planned order, it would be creating it for 200. Then you have a maximum lot size. Maximum lot size in one purchase requisition or in one planned order, how much you can produce or how much you should procure. You said in one, I should be procuring it 500 or producing it 500. So maximum lot size is 500. Okay, so it cannot have a single purchase requisition or a single planned order more than 500 quantity. That also you can mention it. So if it need to order 1000, system will try to create a 2 purchase requisition or 2 planned orders. Okay, and then let's go to the MRP2 for this scenario. MRP controller, I need to maintain it. MRP controller is the guy or a group of people who is responsible for the material requirement planning. Okay, we already have for HGC 1001. This is only for reporting purpose. There is no another purpose for it. Procurement type is automatically coming as a F and it is not changeable. That depends on your material type configuration. So based on the material type configuration, procurement type, you can default it. It's coming default as a F. Okay. Then we'll also discuss about the special procurement after this, but let's complete this one. Safety stock, I'm maintaining as 100. 100 should be there as my safety stock. I am producing it. So I am buying it. So I can mention the planned delivery time, how long it takes to come from the vendor. That I'm mentioning as 10 days. And rest data, accounting data valuation class, I need to maintain it. For raw material, I will use class 300. And then I will be using the moving average price, 10 USD. I'm using it as a price. Do you want to save? Yes, save the material. Material has been saved. SGC1 VB01 material has been created. First, let's check a stock for this material, MMBE. Plant SGC1. There is no stock, zero stock. Other thing we want to check MD04, stock requirement, my stock requirement list. Here, system say that I have a requirement of 100. If you don't maintain anything and if you just maintain the safety stock, then also system will order 100 because minimum 100 safety stock is required. So that's where the 100 is coming here in negative. 100 from the safety stock is coming as a demand. Safety stock is coming as a demand. There is no another parameter. So now we'll try to run a MRP for it, /o MD01N. This is our transaction to run MRP. In this MRP run, this is called MRP Live MD01N. You can put your parameters. You can put the multiple plants also. You can put the multiple materials also, but be careful. Don't do in this system. Don't do into your project systems also, because you don't know how much of the data is there, and it can take a longer time. It can use a lot of resources to run the MRP, right? So whenever you are testing it, be specific to your material. Be specific to your material and run the MRP specific for your material. So I'm running MRP under this plant. For this material, I'm running MRP. If you are using it for FG or SFG, okay, then we can also click here, change BOM components. If there is any change in the BOM components, system will consider. And for the BOM components also, system will run MRP. You can also tick here, stock transfer materials, wherever the stock transfer is happening. If this material, you are getting it from the another plant. Okay, you are getting it from the another plant. Plant A is getting from the plant B. So you also want do the plant A stuff, create a STR from plant A, go into the plant B, and plant B is going to manufacture it. So also create a plant orders in plant B, also check the raw material stock, and also do the raw material planning in the plant B. You can tick with this stock transfer materials. So although you are mentioning SGC1, but if SGC1 is getting from SGC2, that also can be managed. If SGC1 is getting from SGC2, that also can be managed. Regenerative planning, generally we don't use it. Okay, but if you have a new material, or if we are running, we are going live and we are running it as a first MRP run, we do the regenerative planning. Okay, regenerative planning, if you are running it for the first time, we use the regenerative planning, but the normal batch jobs will not be using regenerative planning. Scheduling. Do you want to determine the basic dates for the planned orders, or you want to use the lead time scheduling and also generate the capacity requirements? Okay, this is more for the PP. It will have no impact in this area because this is straight away by material consumption based planning. Okay, whether you select this or select this, there is no difference. But when you are having a PP scenario for FG or SFG, we always prefer to select the option 2, so that system do the lead time calculation and also generate the capacity requirements. Planning mode. In general, we'll be using the adapt planning data. Okay, adapt planning data means if the purchase requisition is already there, right, then we don't want to delete the purchase requisition. Existing purchase requisition is there, and with the new MRP run also, the same purchase requisition is okay with us. Okay, then we need to adapt to the planning data. We don't want to unnecessarily delete the existing planned orders or existing purchase requisition which is existing in the system. Okay, but in a special case, in a specific case, if you want to delete whatever exists in the system, whatever the data has been created, whatever the purchase requisition has been created or planned orders has been created, you want to delete them and you want to create new, then we can use this 3. In most cases, when you are running this MRP again and again, we'll be using it 1, adapt planning data. Wherever the existing planned order, existing purchase requisition can be used, we'll be using it and will not be deleting them. If running this MRP, you want to save the log. If you want to save the log, then I am saving this log against my name, Parminder. Okay, so this MRP run, the log will be saved against my name. That is only functionality it is there. So once you fill these entries, then we'll be clicking on execute. You will now run the MRP live. It will run the MRP live. Then we will check our MD04. What are the changes happens with the MRP once the MRP live is finished? Now, it says that one material has been there and the planning has been done for one material. Which material? Classic MRP has been used and MRP on HANA has been used. It will be telling this. If you have used the earlier version, maybe 2020 and the earlier version of it, for VB base, it goes to the classic MRP. But later on, then they also introduce this reorder base because reorder base is simple planning. So they have not used that code into the HANA earlier. They have worked on to the PD based planning more into the HANA. But after 2020, they have also switched the VB based algorithm to HANA. So if you're running it on the system which is earlier than 2020, you will see that rather than MRP on HANA, system has used classic MRP. But you need not to worry about it. That intelligence has been given by SAP. It automatically understands which scenario it need to use the classic MRP algorithms or which scenario it need to use the MRP on HANA algorithms. Let me refresh it. You see that 2 purchase requisition has been created of 500 each. Why 2 purchase requisition? Why not single purchase requisition of 1000? My maximum stock level was 1000. My stock is 0. So 1000 minus 0, 1000 it need to create. But it has created the 2 purchase requisition rather than creating a single purchase requisition. Why? Right, maximum lot size we have given 500. Because the maximum lot size was 500, we cannot buy or we cannot produce more than that. That's why it has split it into the 2 purchase requisition. It has split it into the 2 purchase requisition. It says the date of 4th November 2024. What does that mean? What will happen on 4th November 2024? What will happen on 4th November 2024? Good receipt, very good. Delivery. So this date, you need to, it will take time, and I cannot say that with this training itself you will become expertise, but this training you will know how to read this MD04, but sometime MD04 would be quite complex. So with experience, you will come to know that how you can read this. Okay. So 4th November is that material availability date. So as per this one, it does not mean that you need to buy it on 4th of November. It means that system is expecting with this purchase requisition, the material will be available by 4th of November. You can double click here and then you will be able to see this is a delivery date, 4th of November. And then system is saying the release date is 21st of October. Release date in 21st of October means this purchase requisition need to be converted into the purchase order by 21st. Then only we would be able to get the material here. So today we are doing it on Saturday. Saturday, Sunday is a weekdays holiday, right? So system is expecting that by 21st, we would be able to convert Monday. We would be able to convert into the purchase order. Then system is calculating the lead time as a working days. And then based on that, system is saying this would be available 500 quantity by 4th of November. If you want to change this one, purchase requisition, if you want to convert into the purchase order, from here itself, you can do it. If you want to display it, from here, you can display the purchase requisition or planned order or any document system you would be able to display from here also. Okay, so this is how your with the reorder based planning, the purchase requisitions can be generated. Okay, now when you will convert this purchase requisition into the purchase order, the planning team, the things will stop here. If you are a PP consultant, your work is stopped here. Purchase requisition is generated, you are done. Then the MM team will take it from here. They will convert this purchase requisition into the purchase order. They will do the GR. Once they do the GR, the stock will increase. And then this stock will again get used into the production, or it will get consumed against the cost center also. And then the stock will decrease. And then as soon as the stock decrease from 500, system will try to get it created again. System will try to get a purchase requisition generated again. Now here you need to play around with this, right? The simple play around you can do, you have run this scenario, purchase requisition has been generated. My reorder point is 500. You can go and delete the both purchase requisitions. Okay, you can go and delete the both purchase requisition. Then you can upload a stock of 600 and see if MRP run happens, whether with the stock of 600 something happens or not. Okay, then you can do a goods issue of stock to the cost center. And then you can see if the stock falls from 600 to 400, and then the MRP run happens, what will happen? Those kind of exploration you need to do it. Okay, those kind of exploration you need to do it. So how to delete a purchase requisition? It's very simple. If you don't know, go it, select it and mark it for delete. Save it. Go it. Change it. Select it, mark it for delete. Save it. Refresh it. Gone. Right? If you want to upload the stock for checking, which we use a lot as a consultant in the development system, quality system, ITC system, we upload the stock for checking it. But in production system, it is not happening that jab bhi chahiye, just upload the stock, right? But for the testing purpose, testing scenarios, running a testing, we do a lot, we upload the stock. So I will upload the stock MiGo. And let's say in here, I will do the good receipt, other. The movement type we use 561. I just want to upload the initial stock, right? So SGC1 underscore VB01. Quantity, let's say I'm uploading 700. Plant SGC1. Store location INWH. Check. Post. I will come back to my MD04. I will refresh it. And you can see now, I have now 700 stock, which is available. Right, 700 stock is available. System is consuming 100 because safety stock is considered as a requirement. So system says 600 is there for usage. Now, if I will run MRP, what is going to happen? Let me go back and let me execute the MRP line. You can use, Kaushal is asking 561. 561 is a movement type. You can use it, this movement type, for any material stock if you want to upload in the system. That is basically initial stock upload. This is used, you know, that when we go live and then you have already a lot of stocks are there, right? All this stock you need to upload in the system. That is the 561 movement is used for that initial stock upload. But you can generate raw material, finished good, semi-finished good, any stock you can generate with this movement type. So let me refresh this one. And you see the MRP has been done, but nothing has been done here now. Right? Nothing has been done because we are still above the maximum stock level. Now let me do one transaction in MiGo. Let me do a goods issue. and I will do the goods issue to 201 for cost center. I am just consuming it against the cost center. A lot of indirect materials. When you issue it, you issue that which department is using. For that department, finance team would be having a cost center. You issue to the cost center, right? So 201, I am using it to issue to the cost center. I will update the moment type here. So SGC1, INWH, material SGC1 underscore BB01. I am consuming the quantity 300. Okay. SGC1 INWH consuming the quantity 300. I will press enter, then it will bring few more things. Account assignment will come. I need to give the cost center because I'm consuming against the cost center. Under this SGC1, we have already created a cost center. You can use it. Otherwise, finance team would be responsible to create the cost center. Let me put the company code SGC1. And this is the cost center SGC1CC. For production, we are using it. Production team is using. So we enter this cost center. Check it. So this will reduce the stock. Quantity is 300. So it will reduce the stock by 300. Right now I have 700. I will expect the stock will become 400 here after this transaction. Post it. Post it. Let me refresh it. Now my stock is less than my reorder point. Now let me run the MRP again. And I don't want regenerated now. I just want to execute the MRP. It is done. Let me refresh it. Now again, I have a purchase requisition. Now one purchase requisition of 500 and another purchase requisition is of 700. Okay. That system has created it. Okay, earlier it has not created purchase requisition because we were more than maximum, we were more than reorder point. Now it has created a purchase requisition because we have now reached the, we are below the reorder point. Okay, so that is what we have covered. We have covered today few fields of MRP1. We have covered today few fields of MRP2. And we have covered today consumption-based planning, how the consumption-based planning will happen, right? We will be covering few more things into the next chapter in MRP1, MRP2. There are few more fields which you need to understand. Some fields will come more into the third session, where basically when we change the MRP type, new fields you need to put. But after today's session, I am expecting you understand what is planning. What is MRP, material requirement planning? What is the consumption-based planning? Okay, what are the different MRP fields required for the consumption-based planning? How to run MRP in the system? How to evaluate the MRP results by using MD04 transaction? This is what you might be able to know now after this session. Okay. Now I will quickly give you an assignment, and after giving the assignment, we'll go to the question and answer. By the time I'm giving you assignment, create material, maintain MRP parameters for a VB, run MRP and show impact. I will add something. Create material, you need to do transaction MM01. MM01, run MRP with MD01N. This one. Show check outcome of MRP. This is with MD04. Delete PR, purchase requisition, if required. You can do from MD04 itself. And then upload stock more than reorder point with Migo movement type 561. Then again run MRP and check results. Reduce stock. Migo movement type 201. Again, run MRP and check the results. This is assignment. I will give you the assignment in Telegram, so you can check and complete. For the MM students, there is an assignment which I have given in the morning also. You need to also complete that one. Special procurement type is pending. We'll discuss in the next session, special procurement type also, and what is the impact of the special procurement types. So this is our PP. This is a common assignment for PP and MM. I will put it at the both. This is consumption based planning assignment. And let me also put it in MM. Okay. Can we restrict the user to create PR? I have some questions, I'm answering them. Can we restrict the user to create PR manually for material which is considered for planning? Sachin is asking. In general, system does not stop. User would be able to create the purchase requisitions manually also. User would be able to change the purchase requisition manually also. So in general, system does not stop it. Even this requirement, I have not seen it in any company where they want to restrict it. But if you want to get it restricted, it can be restricted by not giving them the authorization for the transaction. But again, then they will not be able to create any purchase requisition, right? If you want to do that, that specific type of purchase requisitions should not be created, then some enhancement need to happen for that section. Atanu is asking where MPS come into the picture, whether any provision for it in SAP, please. MPS is Master Product Scheduling. So MPS is generally used for the high-level materials, the finished good materials. If your business say that, boss, before I run my MRP run for the low-level materials, this is the first 20 or 100 materials. This need to be planned first correctly. If this is planned correctly, then I would be able to run the MRP for other materials. So for MPS, a specific type of MRP has been given. It's same as a PD, but when you put it that MRP type for MPS, then you would be able to run the MRP. In MD01 end screen, you would be having that option. So material scope here, all materials, MRP material or MPS material. So if you select the MPS materials which is mentioned as a MPS MRP type, that will run first. Okay, only that materials will run. That is the only difference. And then in the second run, you would be scheduling once business confirm. These results are okay. My top level finished goods has been planned good. Now you explode it and plan for the bottom materials. then you can do it with the MRP materials. So for MRP and MPS, a separate MRP type is there.
Okay, so where I mentioned that, this material is MPS bound,
No, you need to mention in the material
master.
master. So this is VB, right? Then in that case, you need to mention the MPS. So for MPS, this is M0 we need to use.
Okay, all right. So many options again in MPS.
Yeah, so there is some planning with the time fence would be there. Planning with the time fence M1, M2, M3, M4. Same is there in PD also. P1, P2, P3, P4 is there. That is further, again, complex concept within the planning that we cover in the session number 3 with the PP students.
All right, thanks.
Suhas has a question. Is it only the plant level MRP can be run or story location is possible too? So I will, again, that concept we have explained in PP Excellence mode, but I will touch base that quickly in our PP session, Suhas, that is called the MRP area. So right now, what are the maintenance we are doing it? We are maintaining it MRP at the material level, right? Then here the option is for the MRP area. So if you want at the story location MRP, so for story location MRP, you need to create the MRP areas, and then the MRP will happen for the MRP areas. Is MRP will generate the schedule lines from agreement? Yes, it can generate the schedule lines, Raj. Agreements are considered, the Emory, the agreements which was asked is the scheduling agreement. Scheduling agreement is not demand, it's a supply element. Okay. If you don't have any question from here related to the MRP, material requirement planning, session number 1, we'll catch you tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week, same time with session number 2. Again, session number 2 would be combined between MM and PP because there are still more stuff in the MRP which MM guys need to know. And then we'll have a PP specific planning where we'll go more deeper into the more planning concepts. Okay, thank you everyone. Make sure you complete the assignments and we'll catch back again next week. Thank you and bye-bye for now.